Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of The Shadow Side with Safrianna. Uh, we are back to have another very important conversation today with my friend Kim. We are going to be talking about extractive empowerment and how sometimes self-care really does have, self-care, self-work, self-development, self-help, all of those self things do have a shadow side, and it's important to be aware of that. So, before we fully dive in, Kim, would you be so kind as to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much I got tongue-tied. Thanks so much for having me. I am really looking forward to diving into this conversation. It's one that I have in a lot of places behind closed doors, and we don't have it nearly enough publicly. So yes, thank you. So hi everyone, I am Kim Romain. I'm a life and business alchemist. I work with those who are creating a social impact and social change in the world to help them stay grounded in themselves and decondition the BS that we've all been conditioned to. In an effort to move away from the systems that are not serving most of us. I can't say any of us because they are serving a certain group of people.
A rare few.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you call yourself an alchemist. I love the word alchemy. It's one of my favorite words on the planet. And just the work that you're doing is so important. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
And just in case you don't know me, I'm Safrianna Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor turned transformational mentor. I'm a druidic priestess. I have been a founder, not so much anymore, but continually an author and a speaker. So thank you again, Kim, for being here. This topic, I love that you do talk about this, but I also agree this is not really talked about enough because I certainly can look back, especially in my 20s, in my early 30s, if I'm being honest, and I'm not in my 40s yet, so hasn't been that long that I've noticed this pattern in myself of really, really taking responsibility for almost everything that's happening around me, to the point of constantly being in self-development to try and solve all of the world's problems that are occurring around me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's this mentality that if I fix it in myself completely and I get to the root of all the problems, I will suddenly be able to solve everything else. That's my shadow. But
Mm.
what are some of these patterns that you see, like why people dive really, really deep into empowerment work?
Yeah. It's funny because we had a podcast for 4 years called the Empowered and Embodied Show. And we actually named it that intentionally. And we used the word empowered because it was so misused. Um, this sense that we need to take radical responsibility for everything in our lives takes us to such a level of disconnect from what's actually happening in our lives. Um, and we can never get it quote unquote right? We're always like, I I go on a retreat or I work with a mentor or a guide or a coach or a therapist and I do all this work and I pull everything up and I look at it from every different direction and I know myself so well. Now, I will add a little asterisk here. Yes, let's know ourselves that well.
Yes.
And let's not get stuck in the trap, which is really easy for us to get stuck in, of that's all we do. We just keep looking at it. There's, I think, a almost a failure to launch, right? It's like it's this missed opportunity to implement what we're learning and to then experiment and be really curious about what comes from what we've learned. I mean, I know firsthand what that feels like because I will dive deep into like, what does this aspect mean? And how do I know all this stuff about me? And let's go deep and dark and, mucky. And I come out of it and I'm like, that was cool. Now what's next? And I don't actually integrate any of that.
Yes. Oh, we struggle with integration, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Does that ring true for you too?
Absolutely. In all of my studies of humanity and psychology and like all of the domains that I've studied, integration is something that I've come to realize only like 1 in 9 people even understand inherently, like how to do.
Mhm.
But then society doesn't teach those of us who know it inherently how to do it, that it's a good thing. It's just go on to the next thing. What's the next productive thing? How do I master the next thing? What's the next goalpost? This constant expansion, right, of
Yeah, yeah,
ourselves, which, oh man, it's like manifest destiny in ourselves, just plowing ahead with no regard for our inner landscape and the parts of us that are in there that need that integration and need that attention perhaps before we barrel on to the next goal.
yeah. To slow
Absolutely.
down just a little bit, right?
Yes.
And just say, okay, what did I learn here? What do I know now that I didn't know before? Is this right for me? Like what I just learned, does this even resonate with who I am now? It may be some future self, it may be some past self, but maybe it doesn't resonate with who I am now. Maybe it needs time to figure its shit out.
Yeah, and we're constantly growing and changing, and so we do need to loop back around to make sure that things that we even have integrated are still landing. But again, going back to that integration piece, we so rarely do that. The Dunning-Kruger effect,
Yeah.
the idea, I really just recently kind of it landed for me what that meant. And it's this idea that we learn something cognitively.
Mhm.
Oh, that's yeah, it's good to do self-care, right?
Mhm.
And then we do self-care once and we're like, that was great. I've mastered it. And now I don't need to continue to do it. Like that's what the Dunning-Kruger effect is. We think
Right.
we've mastered something when we've only really applied it once. That's not integration. Integration is I can continue to apply it and it advances me.
Right.
Instead
Right.
of you kind of describe that like endless loop of just being in the same like the same reflection process over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. And I mean, so I love a good therapy session. I've done therapy my whole life, and I also got to a point where I said this can't be all I'm doing,
Mhm.
because all I was doing was keep bringing stuff up. And I mean, if we take that into a not so pleasant space, right? When we're regurgitating, like if we keep going, we're empty. We don't
Mhm.
have anything left. And then we're like harming our organs. And it's the same thing in a spiritual and an emotional capacity and an energetic capacity. If we just keep going, if we keep pulling from the depths without pausing, now we're doing damage.
Oh, yes. That's really like yeah, graphic shadow imagery there. That is so
You're
true.
welcome.
If you yes, I love it. Like I've never thought of it that way, but you're so right. Like the emptying of oneself out to where you're depleted because you've excavated the shadows so much. And that's why I really teach what I call the shadow light dance, which is more of an infinity loop. We dip down, we come back up. We dip down, we come back up. Like not this constant thing. And I think that that's the big shadow side I see in so many people that are trying to do self-development work is it is 24 fucking 7.
Yep, yep, yep. Yeah,
Relentless.
yeah.
And I've been there, right? So no shame, no
Right.
blame out here. Like we're calling it out so that people can recognize, oh no, like getting stuck in that, there's no room to breathe.
Mm-mm. There's no room to breathe. There's no room to grow. There's no room to connect with others. I mean, there's just no room because that it is all encompassing. It's all encompassing. And I think about the times when, so I'm in my 50s. So having gone through this a time or two, um, right? I think about those times where I feel like, no, but if I just know one more thing, no, but if I just understand this just a little more deeply, then I can come up for air. Then everything will be right, sunshine and roses on the other side, versus understanding there is that infinity loop. Like just because you go down and learn it doesn't mean you're not going to go down and learn it in a different way. And I mean, we keep doing that because we have new information and we have new capacity, but we aren't going to grow in that lesson unless we began implementing some part of it. We're just going to keep pulling that same shit up time after time after time.
You know, I teach it as this. we want to go in the upward spiral, not the downward spiral, right? And on the spiral, no matter where you are, a spiral is a circle shape, and like a circle, it's a compass, and there is a north. And one of those north points in our life is what I call trauma north. We are always going to circle back to a trigger. We're always going to circle to a time or a memory or a place or a person that's going to dredge something up in us. And what you're describing was what I describe as being another ring up on the spiral, looking down at, oh, I've already been here. Look at how much I've learned and I've grown. But the trap becomes when, we're not integrating. And so we're still in the same problem, and we're trying to avoid that trigger or trauma.
Yeah.
What do you, what happens when we avoid?
Gonna smack your head upside the head.
Yeah, when we avoid, it really comes at us sideways.
Exactly, sideways. Exactly. Right. I mean, so I play a lot in human design and use a lot of tools in astrology with my clients as well as many others. But this idea of a core wound, and that we can actually get some information around our core wound. What is this thing that we are here? One of the things, but one of the bigger things that we're here to kind of learn over and over again. And one of the lessons that I have to repeat myself on quite frequently is, but I just learned that. Yes. And now look at how the situation is. What did you learn as you came out of that? What did you understand about that wounding that either was triggered in this lifetime from birth on, or potentially even in previous lifetimes? Like, how are we working with that, and how are we healing it, and where are you in that process? And one of the things I remind people is, if you've healed your core wound, you're done. Here you go. You've done your job.
As my friend Dr. Bird says, then there's nothing left till your life is done.
It's
Congratulations.
just done. Yeah. So keep working on it, and you keep going.
Yes, there's I called it, and I've written about this before, I called it healed and healing, because we can get to a point where the core wound, like, we've acknowledged it, we've worked with it enough that we've healed enough of it to see it and hold it in the future. We don't have to do the avoidance thing and the running away and the shoving it down in the shadow anymore. But when it comes up, then we do some more healing. Like, yes, it's healed enough to be with, but it's still going to be healing, because when we're done, and we don't want to be done.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, I liken it to a scar, because so I have, when I was almost 3 years old, I was hit by a car, and I have a scar that runs from my wrist to my elbow on my right arm, and I still have it. It's very light still, but it's still there. And it doesn't hurt anymore, it doesn't itch. But there was, into my teens and maybe even early 20s, like if I got a sunburn or something, it would be affected. It's far less affected now, but it's still there. It's still part of me. So while it is healed, I still have remnants from that accident that show up in other ways in my body and in my psyche. So while those aspects continue to heal, this part can be healed, and I can look at it, I can touch it, I can be reminded of it. So I feel that way with our shadows, with our emotions, with our energy. We very much do that same thing that you were just talking about. It's like, there's that healed, what around it still needs healing, because it's not like our core wounds or any of our wounds are just one thing.
Nope.
They're not connected to anything else.
If only, right? If only it were so simple.
Right?
If only.
Can you imagine?
So I wanna go down a little different path here, which is how self-development work. Sometimes another shadow of it is that we avoid collective responsibility. We avoid what's happening out in the world because, I need to build this in myself, or I need to conquer this in myself, or like this. I think it probably is, in some people, a perfectionism. I don't want to go out and try and help in the world until I've got it perfectly down pat in myself. I think that can be one thing. But What else is that about? Avoiding collective responsibility by running the self-help loop constantly.
Um, so many thoughts are rushing through my head.
My conversations do that.
Yeah, no,
Hello, welcome.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things that came through is this idea of just avoidance. It's that what's happening out there is not actually my issue. So I'm going to just stay focused on this. And I don't see it connected to that. That's a very different energy than I'm going to do my own personal liberation in service of collective liberation. I'm going to do my own personal healing in service of collective healing, because you see how they're connected. Mm-hmm. But there's the world's going to hell in a handbasket, or is already there, and I just need to do my stuff so I'm okay. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's a lot of selfishness, and the way that I look at it is, right, we very much collectively are living within and operating within the collective shadow. And and selfishness is one of those things that is very thick, and that's not my problem. I can't fix it. I don't know how to fix it. They messed it up, right? They messed up. They know they need to go fix it. Those were the initial things that came through. Love to hear your response.
Yeah, I mean, I've really been sitting for a while now with the word capacity, mm-hmm. because a lot of people use the word capacity almost, it's similar to weaponized incompetence. Mm-hmm. I don't have the capacity to look at other humans suffering. Mm-hmm. Okay, what that really translates to is I don't have the capacity to look at my own suffering at all, because if I can look at that in myself, I can look at it in others. Like that's what the liberation work does. And I love that you framed it first as this can be interconnected, and we can be doing healing work in support of other people. Mm-hmm. So we can show up stronger, better, faster. Mm-hmm. Daft Punk's playing in my brain right now, but not really. Like in more authenticity, in more flow, in more compassion, in more capacity to give from overflow. And so when we are in this sort of like, I have endless capacity for self-development work, mm-hmm. but I can't look at your pain. Like that's a big question mark to me, because it shows, oh, okay, there is something within you that you don't want to look at. Mm-hmm. Because to look at it in me means to look at it in you, mm-hmm. or to look at it in this other stranger, to look at it in another country means to look at your own relationship with it. And so I do think it can become a trap of, I'll just keep doing my work because I'm doing something. But if there is none of that acknowledgement of the collective impact and a grander purpose outside of yourself, then yeah, and nobody likes to hear the word selfishness, but I agree. It's a huge collective problem right now. And we're seeing it in the collective shadow. I mean, we have these billionaires getting close to trillionaires who are literally the demagogue of this shadow.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was the opposite. I was able to focus all of my energy on external suffering, but I really struggled to, and I actually hated the word suffering. I'm like, we're not going to talk about, like, I understand other people suffer. I have no suffering. I have pain. I don't have suffering. Don't talk that's not mine to have. I'm not entitled to my own. And so I then, by doing that, negated, right? I didn't do my work. I was doing other personal development work, the feel-good work, right? And that's the part where it's like, I turned to it and I said, oh, I can feel good over here. I don't need to do the suffering work. I'm okay without doing it. I'm going to save that for them because they need it. And therefore, right, I was a savior. Yes. And that's when I look back and I'm like, wow, no, that's not what I meant. But I had to do my own work and see how it connected. Mm. Because if I didn't see how it connected, then I would be over here just in my suffering, in my pain, and focusing on that and not making an impact with others all around the world.
Right.
Right.
That almost like guilt of I have no suffering, and that doesn't let you actually give from an authentic place because you're giving from martyrdom or self-sacrifice or white saviorhood or whatever, whatever mantle we end up wearing. I love the self-awareness in that. And this actually is a perfect bridge to another thing I wanted to explore, which is good vibes culture. Because we're both wooey people. I say woo with like I reclaim woo. Yes, I think it's a good thing, but it can get out of hand, I think, also, and into a very shadowy side of avoiding the shadow and getting into this sort of like high vibes, feel good all the time. I need to ascend above my humanity and almost be in spiritual bypassing. And that abandons justice work. It abandons real liberation and real like connection with other humans, masquerading as I'm liberating myself more from the human experience than reality.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear, because it sounds like you were kind of in that a little bit, like you were almost in the good vibes. We need to feel good because we're trying to come out here and do these things.
Yeah.
But it didn't really land.
It didn't really land. And so I didn't ever go quite so far as what I call white woman woo. Which is
Yes.
what I'm really
The alt-right one.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's terrifying to when I start sharing about some of the tools that I use for deconditioning, for transformation, for liberation. I'm like, just a little asterisk here. This is not the white woman woo. You're not going to get like good vibes. Sure, if they're there, but they're going to be offset with the reality of life because and so I struggle with religion. I struggle with deifying anything. I struggle with the concept of ascension, even though there are aspects of it that I very much am intrigued by and am curious about. Once I start reading too deeply into it, I'm like, oh, you're all saying the same bullshit. And it really challenges me because it takes our humanity away from us. Yeah. And if that's where we go someday, it's not where we are now. And I personally, I think it does a huge disservice to where we are as humanity, who we are as human beings at this time in history, to say, right, stay in the good vibes and, we can manifest this shit together. And what you go into this place of like, just stay calm. No, I don't want to stay calm. I'm pretty fucking angry.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I've really been appreciating so much Black feminist perspective on we do not owe we don't owe regulation, quote unquote, and perfect calm when the world is on literal fire, because that is continuing to prop up the patriarchy. It continues to prop up the systems that profit off of the suffering and the silence.
Yep.
When we're just like, okay, I'll just zen this away, right? No,
you will not. Yeah, it's another way of othering. Right? It's another way of saying, if you ascend, right, we're creating a new hierarchy. If you do this work and you keep your vibe high enough, then you get to be with us. Versus humanity is in this shit together. And if we don't take, going back to what I said at the beginning, radical responsibility. Now we can overdo the radical responsibility and get trapped in the inside. But we, as human beings, have to take radical responsibility for the state the world is in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we want it to look differently, we need to do shit differently. But that doesn't mean sitting on a mountain on high saying Om all day. I will say om like the next person, but that's not like, I'm not focusing everything to just keep my vibration high. I'm doing it to, so my poor family doesn't lose their minds with me yelling all the time. I do let out my rage. I do let out my frustration, and we need to do that, but we don't need to regulate ourselves into submission. We need to break free from submission.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I when you were talking about sitting on a mountain on high and doing I was like, I thought of the two people who do that. They're the actual Buddhist monks who that is their lifestyle, and they end up contributing incredibly to their communities and to teaching and agriculture and so many things. And then there is the people chasing ascension from humanity who are literally like, this is the lifestyle that I need to live in order to not deal with that. Like, it's avoidance again. So we want to shine this spotlight on the shadow so that we can begin to collectively liberate from these patterns.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to hear these things because most of us have fallen in, like, when I was 18 and just stepping into the spiritual world outside of Christian programming, gosh, if I did not want to be a Native American person
Oh
and a
yeah.
part of an indigenous tribe and wished I was not a white person and wanted to chase those things and bumbled over myself trying to actually come back to my core spirit and not needing to chase some outside answer, right? Like spiritual reclamation, self reclamation. This work is messy. We trip over a lot of stumbling blocks, but we are one people, one planet. And if we ignore how we're in this together and how we impact one another, like we're not, I mean, the planet's going to be fine, but we won't be.
I don't even know about that first one. I can hope that nature will heal itself in ways that humans have not yet learned, but we've also seen how deeply we have damaged this planet and that it may be beyond.
I
It's
think
not
she'll
beyond.
recover once we're all dead and gone from our own self-destruction. She might look a little different, but that's the speculative science fiction author in me that's
Yeah.
literally writing about us having gone through that, destroyed things, ruined the environment,
Mm,
and sort of come back on the other side, sort of.
yeah.
But yeah, this is the hard, cold reality. And that's another thing, just another shadow I want to name with this and the
Mhm,
extraction
mhm,
is when self-development means having to go buy stuff and engage in more consumerism.
mhm.
That's extractive empowerment. Look, you empowered yourself to get this. I mean, the social term right now is get the bag, right? Like get
Yeah.
your bag. Whatever your bag is, the thing that you're trying to save up to purchase, like is that actually what you want and need at your soul level? Or is that participating in striving for the extractive thing?
Yeah. Because we both provide services, products, opportunities for people to do this work,
Right.
right? So there is an opportunity to exchange currency,
Mhm.
right? That said, I don't ever want to work with somebody that this is not what they are called to do.
Mhm.
This needs to be something that there is a deep curiosity. There is a deep understanding of the importance of integration, and that there is a deep understanding that this is their work to do in community with the collective,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise, to your point, I mean, I see beautiful crystals behind, like
We have
we have
purchased.
purchased.
We have done some extracting.
We have, and
And
I know that I used to do it because of that idea that if I had this thing, that would make this work
yep.
versus, oh, that I can partner with in this way at this time and not expecting something outside of ourselves to give us the answer or the direction. That's what that shadow work is for. That's what that depth is for. And yeah, the number of skeevy things that are out there that people are like, just buy this thing and all your problems will not be solved by a thing. Or
And
even one other person.
right. And yes, like we live on a planet where there's stuff and there's
Mhm.
abundance and we currently exchange money and there is no shame in that. Like I want to dream up a post-capitalist system where there is money in the form of currency and more exchange than we see now. Like I think we could work our way into a new system that's somewhere in between. I'm working on that in myself. And there's no shame in purchasing things and gathering stuff. We just want to be aware, especially is this something that I love how you said it. Do I want to partner with this? Is this something I really can like part of my design is I being surrounded by beautiful things
Mhm.
inspires me, hence the crystals, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
my beautiful little decorations that I've gathered in art pieces
Mhm.
I've made and things I've made myself. Like that is worthy and that's important. And if you're like, "Oh my gosh, I need to buy this thing over here because I was told I needed to be good, to be right, to be successful, to be professional, to be whatever."
Mhm.
Let's ask some deeper questions.
Yeah.
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 So that is the deeper question in this. I think the deepest question is how do we discern the difference between true empowerment that really transforms us, helps us integrate, move forward, expand in that spiral? What's the difference between true empowerment and extraction?
Mhm.
How do we tell the difference?
Yeah. And I think that goes back to knowing yourself, but not getting stuck in the loop of self-knowledge. It's knowing yourself for this moment enough to say, this is what I need. This is where I am. And then looking beyond self and saying, what is needed? Not from a savior place, but what do I see? Where can I bring myself, my talents, my wisdom into the collective space around me? And maybe the things that I've collected, I bring with me, and I say, "This is what I'm using. What are you using?" Right? And allowing conversation and curiosity to be there, so that we're not focusing on the quick fix.
Mm.
We're also not focusing on our individual brokenness. We're saying to ourselves, I am an individual, I am human, and so are you. What are your needs? Here are mine, right? And beginning that dialogue moves us away from a place of extraction. We're not trying to get something from somebody. We're moving into collaboration, into conversation, into curiosity. That's
I
that's what comes forward.
Yeah, I'm hearing like reciprocity in there too.
Yep.
Like empowerment has this reciprocal nature. And I could see that like in my own example when I show up live and I'm goofy and I'm me and I'm neurodivergent and I'm queer, other people go, "Oh, I can do that too," simply by me showing up. So that just becomes reciprocal as I'm empowering myself to be me. The ripple effect, right? Empowerment has a ripple effect. It's not this one time moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Empowerment also doesn't mean pinnacle,
Mhm.
right? When we think, am I empowered, right? We somehow put it into this hierarchical sphere of saying, I'm empowered, I've ascended, I have hierarchy, like I'm there, versus I'm empowered, so I am connected to self and I can make autonomous decisions. I have personal agency. Doesn't mean every decision we make we're going to love, but it means that we get that ownership over self in connection with the world around us.
Yeah. I love that you keep bringing in hierarchy too, because I've talked about hierarchy before. We've talked about the shadow side of hierarchy specifically in this podcast,
Mhm.
actually. But hierarchy is such a just an absolute bane in humanity. Like it's just not. what we need, and it's not right. Like, all humans are equal. And so anytime, I think that's a great awareness strategy is, am I one upping myself or one downing someone else? If so, there's some form of extractive
Yep.
hierarchical behavior happening here, and that is never going to be authentic. It's never going to be healing.
Mhm.
It's never going to be liberating.
Right.
It's going to be disconnecting ultimately.
Yeah, which is the opposite of what everybody's saying they want.
Yeah. Yeah. What's I know everybody's been talking, I've been seeing this coming up lately about how everybody wants to be like have a village, but no one wants to be a villager.
Mhm. Yup.
That's this work, like empowering ourselves to actually have the capacity to show up with other humans and to
Mhm.
have hard conversations and to look into our own shadows with compassion. Like, these are difficult things, sure,
Mhm.
but they're worthwhile things.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. And it's why I love the work that we both do in supporting others to find their way to that, because it is an opportunity to see the parts of self that society has told us we shouldn't look at
Yeah.
or shouldn't even exist.
Mhm. Yes. Snaps. We are just encouraging you to reclaim the truth of who you are, and there's so many tools that we both use. You know, Kim, if people want to connect with you, what is the best place to connect with you?
So I'm not super consistent on any social media. So the best way is really to come to my website, and you can either drop me an email. My email address is on there, or yeah, you can drop me. I'm on all the socials, so you can drop me a note on one of them, and I'll probably eventually respond. But
Eventually, 3 years down the road, I've literally found posts like 7 months later and been like, oh, oops, sorry.
yeah,
Yes, but kimromain.com, it's in the show notes. Please go if you feel called to Kim. You're just such an absolute powerhouse of love
oh,
and of really, empowering people, not in this false definition. I love that you have spent time unpacking, and as Kim mentioned, she does have the Empowered and Embodied show. It's, in my understanding, now retired, but there are over 200 episodes people can
yep,
watch
yep.
or
Go
listen to.
binge. Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic. So, as we come to the end of our time today, is there anything else that you want to just leave people with? Any messages about empowerment, about moving forward on their journeys, or just anything on your heart?
Yeah, I just really want to encourage everybody to listen to your own wisdom. It's going to get really hard to know what's true. It already is, and it's going to get worse. Um, just where we're headed as a global community. So really listen to your own truth, understand where you are and where you're coming from and what's important to you, and then share it,
Mm,
because we need each other. That's
yes.
how we move forward.
Thank you. Yes. I hear in that, share what you're here to share and do what you need to do. And please fact check things.
The best that you can,
The
because
best
that's
you
the other thing is, like, even fact checking is becoming nearly impossible. I have this conversation with my 16-year-old all the time. I'm like, it's because who made that fact? Who
Yep.
published that fact? So do the best that you can.
Do the best that you can and talk to other real human beings in the flesh.
Yes,
That's part, again, the empowerment we all need is the empowerment to come together.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Kim, for having this conversation today. It's an
Thank
honor to just know you and be in your world. And I hope that our listeners out there get something from this and know that you don't have to keep constantly doing the self-development and chasing that next goalpost. You get to sit down for a while and breathe. Yes, center.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
We don't have to be on the rodeo ride all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Absolutely. So until next time, my friends, this has been another episode of The Shadow Side. Oh, we see you, we believe in you, and we're cheering you on. Bye for now.